So here's what we've got today. This is my 1973 dent side long bed F100. In a previous episode we saved this thing from basically being scrapped, but she's still got a long way to go. So this time on Backshed we're making a shitty F100, well, less shitty. So this one's been rattling around in my head for a little while, and if you remember in the first episode, she wasn't great. It's a 302 Cleveland V8. It was covered in 2 inches worth of rat turds. It was missing a lot of parts, and the inside of it was literally waist deep with rubbish. I'm not much of a glove wearer normally, but this shit is out of control. We did end up getting it running. Got rid of the tray, chucked a cheap bed on it, some cool wheels, and we did end up driving it at the very end of the last episode. She then got sort of pushed to a side because there's a bit of a decision to make on this one. Although it runs, every time I looked at this thing there was more paint literally just falling off, and there's some old repairs in the cab corners and that sort of thing. The more you look, the worse it got. But the one thing that brings it back for more today is it ran pretty good. I'm talking walk up, pump the throttle a few times, turn the key, and it'd run. Not perfect, still got one tired cylinder, but run enough to move it around and whichever. But yesterday, wound, wouldn't fire. And I'm into saving them, not killing them. So, let's take a look what's going on. As I say, she's a 302, and it was missing a ton of bits. We put a brand new Holly on it, but modern fuel evaporates very, very quickly. So I'll knock off the air cleaner, we'll connect up the battery, and I'll show you what's going on. He really was quite good. Well, compared to how it started. Always use the right tool for the job. And that was probably the only brand new part we threw out. It was that Holly, and ironically that's the bit that's causing the issue. But it's not really the Holly itself as such, it's more so the modern fuel that's in it. Because if you watch the throttle here, as I open it, that's the accelerator pump lever just there, and you watch that spring, the spring's compressing, but it's not compressing the accelerator pump. So it's not getting that little burst of fuel that needs to fire up. So when I hit the key, when I find the key, and it doesn't matter how much I want to wind it, it won't fire unless you dump a little bit of fuel down the throat. And that's how I realised, to put some fuel down the throat, it fired straight up. So that little plunger is actually not moving, it's stuck on that diaphragm. If you see on this Holly, if I tip him over, that's the accelerator pump there, and that's that plunger. And what's happening there is not happening. The little diaphragm in there is actually stuck. The fuel's evaporated and it's stuck closed, and it's just compressing that spring instead of letting that diaphragm compress. So if it had been sitting a long time, I'd knock the carburetor off, flip it over, and knock that little accelerator pump off just there and change out that diaphragm. But it hasn't been sitting long, so I'm just going to get brutal on it and push that lever down with my special tightening hammer, and there it goes. So it's 2 pumps. So if I pump that throttle now, see that lever depressed? That's probably way too many pumps now, but anyway, I'll fire him and see how it goes. Well, I'll try and fire him, see how it goes. He'll probably make an ass of me right now. Like I said, she runs not well. She's got a ton of blow by. And I can't get the breather back in. Oh, home breather. It's too good for your home. But that little sticky accelerator pump was the one thing stopping it just getting that little injection of fuel that it needed just to fire up. And she sounds pretty good. And she does actually sound pretty good because she's got a little set of dump pipes just before the dip. But there's a couple of reasons I won't run him too long. The main one is the belt's not on him. We're missing an alternator, so the belt's just, you know, hanging about for the ride. And the second thing is, from the last episode we put a full fuel system in it, tank right through, it was all functioning, but I forgot to connect up a fuel filler. So although the tank's in there, I can't fill it. So to move him round I had to go back to the old drink bottle in the engine bay. So that's the other thing that's stopping me running for any length of time. So I think that's where we'll start. Alternator, we'll fit a fuel neck so we can connect the fuel tank back up. But that actually might mean lifting that bed again. There's not a lot of space between the bed and the chassis rail to try and get a neck in there. And the one other thing I really need to address, you see all that corrosion? There's a brass fitting that pushes into the block there. It's corroded right at the tip of the block and it's still leaking. So that's another one. We'll have to heat that up, try and get that fitting out and seal up that cooling system as well. So that's where we'll start. I know, alternator first. Although, if I put that alternator, that makes that hard. We might start with that guy. And like I said, if that was sitting longer, I'd probably just take the carb off and replace that diaphragm. But the fact that hasn't been sitting long and it's just stuck, hopefully just running more fuel through that, we'll just keep that operating and it'll come round. So we'll start with these little things and go from there. If you see there was basically nothing holding that in there. I've pulled that pipe off and the hole is right to the base of that fitting. So I'm going to get the rest of that out somehow and then we'll try and press a new fitting in. I'm probably with no luck going to try and butcher this out to a certain degree just by, oh geez, did I say with no luck? That almost came. Oh no, it didn't. So I can just, I'm just going to try and twist it out. You can see there at the bottom it's starting to curl around. You can't actually, oh yes you can. So I can try that on the side. This could take a minute. I'll try and heat that block a little without burning our water pump gasket, of course, or the head gasket, and see if I can twist that guy out. Failing that, I guess I'll have to drill it out really gently, but as bad as that looks, it's actually fairly promising so far. And now it's probably not. Now that I've just about tore that off, it's probably not. But I'll see if I can get a little screwdriver and run down the edge of that before I completely tear that lip off and have nothing to grab onto it. A fairly sacrificial screwdriver at that, but screwdriver nonetheless. Oop. That just started going in, so I've broke it free. Oh dear. Wrong direction. Wrong direction. Oh, come on. Don't fail me now. If I can just get a hold of a bit better piece. Come on. Here comes. Here comes. And they're just pressed in there. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to clean up that little bore there. Drain the water, because that'll cool my block down. Heat up the block, freeze that guy, and see if I can't slip a new one in. What's going on there? Water level's not dropped, but I've disconnected the hose and dropped all the water. So there's clearly part of the passageways or galleries or something is holding water in that guy, which I guess I can fix that. I'll just connect that back up and maybe whack a bit of air in it, maybe. That clamp isn't loose enough. I dead set want those bagpipes just to break out a long way to the top. I mean, bit of Bon Scott and AC/DC type of shit. One of those guys that have to know it. Right there, so just the way the passageways are in the blocks holding the water up against that fitting. I want to drop down so I can really heat up rather than just being cooled, you know, a 10 mil inside that hole. I'll just stick something down there. So look at the crap that just come out of that. I think we need to flush this block after we get it all the you know, coolant system buttoned up. That looks terrible too. Anyway, might put that in first, then I might seal that guy and bolt that dipstick back to there. Both of them looked pretty shitty, so I'm doing both while I'm going. Oh, it shocks me, it looks shitty. Who'd have thunk it, the rest looks so mint. And of course I saw that in the first episode when coolant was pissing out, so I preempted it and I bought that guy. That's what it should look like, and you wouldn't think that thickness could come down to... Oh, that's the wrong size. What I was going to say is you wouldn't think something that thick could wear down to what we just pulled out of there, but that's a different one. That end's probably better. So that end's for the hose with the little barb there, but I think I've got an idea. Where's that heater hose? Do we even need a heater hose? I suppose long term we do. It's about 15, just over 15 mil. Oh. Alright, so do I take 4 mil off that? Or do I start there? I've only got to take 1.2 off that. Might check the diameter of that heater hose that will go over that large end first before I start whipping at it. So here's what we're going to do. I got one of these little fellas and I've slid it through that brass fitting and into the drill. Now hopefully the face of the chuck and the end of that will hold it relatively square, so if I spin it, I can do better. Hang on, I can do better. If I can get it a bit tighter in there. That made it worse, you idiot. I said I could do better, I can do damn well worse too. I'm getting worse every time. What are you doing, you idiot? I had it better than that. Maybe I can't do better. That's about as back to as good as it gets, I think. So I'm now literally going to sit the drill in the vise and sit a file on this section here and just spin it and see if I can machine that down. That's still as cockeyed as anything. That's right, cockeyed, it's a thing. You know, it's like that. So from what I can gather, that block is tapered at 15.2 at the top and it tapers down slightly. Does that taper? No. Anyway, and I am going to try and do it the hard way. I'm going to try and come from this end so I don't have to try and mill that one down and then re-put a lip there for the hose. I'll go the hard route. But anyway, this is how we're going to do it. Got my very sophisticated trigger holder. Going to try and take it down, the bulk of it down. That did 3 parts of 2/5 of a large portion of fuck all. Anyway, go again. So we're getting close because now this end is the same diameter as the hose end, and if you remember that was still slightly bigger, but that was like 16.5, so we're within, I don't know, a mil and a bit. So I'm going to change me grinder wheel to a finer one and go again. I'll just go down to a flapper disc. .5, we've got 0.3 of a mil to go. Alright, so I reckon I'm going to give that a trial fit because I'm starting to get nervous. If I go too far, clearly it's worse than not taking enough off and having another go. So I should have that just under size so I can slot it in, and then it tapers out. So let's just see if it slots in first, because I prefer a little tiny bit on the edge narrower. That way it slides into the hole, and that way you can give it a good solid flogging, because that's how you fit them. Anyway, so if I've done this anything close, I know I'll go into about there somewhere. I was probably going in a little further than I expected, but... So now we're in a machine shop. Nope, not even close. Anyway, that'll do, because that being brass, it's pretty soft. So if I can heat it, chill that, I'll just give them a good solid tap on the noggin. Alright, let's do that. And while that's chilling in the freezer, I'm pretty sure this is the alternator. Do you reckon it's been sitting there a while? That's terrible. Should be saving them, not getting them running and parking them. I think I paid that much for it. It better not be chrome. Tell me I didn't make it chrome. Ah. Black. Because I didn't want it to look too good, you know, chrome and everything. So we'll stick with shitty black. Instructions. Will I need them? Yeah, probably. I'm just going to give it a little run, just to get a little bit of heat in that block. I don't want to go smacking the torch too hard. I think I've already burnt that gasket a little bit, so I'll just let it run until the headers, or they're not headers, what are they? Manifolds are starting to feel warm. I'll wait until the head starts to feel warm, and then I'll switch them off and just let the heat transfer into the rest of the cast iron. But I'll give you a look around him just while that brass fitting's cooling and that's transferring a bit of heat. This guy is a 73, I'm told. Last of the metal dash. I think first of the 74 had the metal dash, so this is one of the last ones with a metal dash, not the plastic guy. Somebody's swapped an auto into him, but they didn't bother removing the pedal box or covering up the hole or anything like that, so that's probably another thing we're going to do. Cover up the hole, I mean, not remove the pedal. It's fine where it is. And it's got some sort of late model steering wheel off, I think, like an 88 Falcon, maybe a fraction earlier, like an XD through to XF Falcon. A little hole cut in the dash there. That's a bit of a shame, but never mind, we'll get to that. And I wouldn't mind seeing what else I bought. There's obviously a receipt from eBay. And do you reckon they've been sitting here a while? They're tail lights, I know that, but what are they? Oh, there might be more tail lights. I do have a few F trucks, so maybe I bought a pair of them. But in here, he's not great. He's got a little bit of rust there, but we won't worry about that just yet. We're going to work on the outside. And this bed, it was pretty good, you know, for this truck. And I threw it on along with some 16x7s with what size tyres? 235/70 16 tyres all round. Besides the little bits and pieces of surface rust and some absolutely terrible bodywork there, the bed was way better than this thing probably deserved. I put a new floor in it because the base was rotted out, but the tailgate had that checker plate protector on it, the same as the headboard. So even if there's rust behind there, I can't see it, so it doesn't exist. And like I said with this thing, every time I walked up to it, it just seemed like there was more and more paint just flaking off. I can probably show you a better example than that. You'd walk up to it and there'd just be paint on the ground, because it's literally just flaking off. Like, look at it there. So I'm going to give this a real good pressure clean again and get every bit of loose paint I can off it, and then we'll start on the outside. But he's pretty shitty. Someone's tried to goop up the drip rail. Full custom. Yeah, whatever. But let's have a look what else I bought. I do have a bit of a shit memory when it comes to what I've bought, and I do know they're definitely tail lights. Automotive lamp. Yep. So I bought 2 sets of tail lights. I have more than one F truck. Actually, it doesn't look like I've bought stuff all. I remember them. They were actually in the ute when I found it. But obviously I did have intention of putting the filler neck in. I just clearly forgot when I put the bed on. Well, there's nothing in there. Maybe I did buy so much. That's good. I didn't waste too much on a set of taillights and a new carby. So the block's kind of warm, that's freezing. I'm just going to put a couple of marks on it. See how far we get it in. And a little bit of retaining compound. Apparently we're getting an egg today. I put a couple of lines on there just so we can see how far we actually go in. Oh shit. Well, I'll tell you how far we went in, all the friggin' way. I put 4 little lines on that and they're all gone, so it's in a good 15 mil. And that'll do me. Wouldn't want to go any harder in case I, you know, did something nasty. So here's one for you. So I just spent 15 minutes looking for a bolt to hold that in and went, yay, found one, and then realized no, didn't need it, because that guy comes through the alternator, "25 minutes, I'll never get back." Found a bolt though. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. Anyway, let's get this alternator in, and this amazing dipstick. I'm getting the distinct impression this might not fit. Maybe it will. Oh, who'd have thunk it fits perfectly. Talk about direct replacement. That's about the best fitting alternator ever. Even in black it's too good for this thing. So that's it, alternator fitted, brass fitting in. Oh, fitted but not wired, we better do that I suppose. And the old wiring's a 2-wire hookup, but this one's only a 1-wire hookup. But I think the difference is that's a voltage regulator for the old Effie. These guys have their own regulator, so we don't actually need that. So I guess we'll just trace that back. Yeah, well they're piggybacked onto that one. I'll uncover all that wire and just see what's going on, but it should be just the 1 wire that's going to the regulator can now go straight to the alternator, to that guy down there, and this guy up the top's just an earth. So I'm going to connect that earth there to, where's that go? Yeah, down in the hand right next to me, to there. So I'll loop one from there to there, connect that guy up, and hopefully we should be charging. Then we'll loop that heater hose, ignore that firewall you know, core that's in there in case that leaks. For now we'll just loop that, and we'll just fix one thing at a time. We won't create more issues by trying to make that amazing. So earth cable, power cable, charging, right, that easy. And I found an old cable, I think it's an old golf cart battery cable or something. Just going to clean it up. Yeah, that's the way to create more issues for yourself. Use second-hand parts. It looks fine, whatever. Yeah, that's what it is. It's off a golf cart. I've obviously replaced the cables at one time, so that would mean this one's clearly perfect if I've replaced it. This might have been a good one. It's good to me. Okay, so we're to the point where I can see that went to the alternator, blue and brown. They go to the regulator, that piggybacks off the regulator, turns into a yellow. So that yellow is my new best friend, and we're going to put him on the back of that. What's the worst that could happen? I could be wrong. Anyway, we'll just do it. So that one little yellow wire is going to be, I guess, and that's all it is. Well, it's a pretty good guess because it was going to the voltage regulator, so and that plug was definitely an alternator plug, but I'm going to probably do it the hard way, and that is crimp it, do it up, test it. If it works, then pull it back off and solder it. Well, if it works, I'll probably forget about it and just leave it uninsulated hanging off the back of the alternator, whatever. But for now, it's a very nice alternator, so I want to do the right thing by it. So we're just going to test it. Some alternators need an exciter wire. I don't get it. I don't like electrics. What's an exciter wire? Is it like date night for alternators? This one's not. This one's one wire hookup. Sounds easy, doesn't it? One wire hookup. Beautiful. Ooh. Maybe 2 eggs today. A lot of ruckus for one little egg, although it would hurt. Yeah, righto. Wouldn't hurt that much. Carrying on now. Quite needy behaviour if you ask me. Oh look, an egg. What else are you supposed to do? I could understand it more if it was like, oh look, a brick. Then it'd be like, oh, yeah, I get it, I get it. Righto, hose is done up, chook's still going off. Probably have to wait till the chook dam stops. Enough with your eggs. Right, so I can put some more, actually I'll tell you what I was going to say, I could put some more water in it and away we go, but I might do a battery clamp while we're here, and battery clamps are a thing around here, dead set. I borrow the battery, but then I'll come back and like, well, where's the clamp? And you might go, well, it's in your hand, you dickhead. No, that's not it. It's too short. So I don't know where that one's come from. Maybe I went to swap and, yeah, I don't know. This one's long enough. That one's more than long enough. What about if I... Oh, no, it's not long enough. So that's off something else. But it does give me an idea. That's just threaded rod, and I know I have some threaded rod, so I can... How much longer has that got to be? 25mm longer than that, and we're good to go. So that'd be like that. Yep. So 25mm longer than that. And as I said, I know I had threaded rod. This is actually Holley carburetor thread, you know, for like holding air cleaners. Like, how big was the air cleaner going to be? No, I got extra for like 30 carburetors. Better go a little extra because you know what'll happen. I won't get that bend tight enough. In about 4 episodes from now, I'll come up short on Holley carburetor threaded rod. You watch me snap this. I've seen this stuff snap. Like, so am I now 10mm too short? I did call that though, didn't I? Righto, go a little bit easier. I picked it. Oh, I've done it again. I guess we're going to start again on that one. It's either that or I just weld a head on top of that. That's the next bit that's going to happen. Might be easier. Righto, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop snapping it and just weld that together, because after all, we need it nice. Total butchery, but it's done. We've all done worse. maybe. Might even put a second nut on that. And maybe a little rubber thingy under that metal bracket. That one's a tad excessive, isn't it? Plenty of bonnet clearance, probably won't worry about it. I might just slide something under that battery though, because batteries rubbing through is uncool. Made for it. I was going to try and straighten it up and make it all perfect, and then I remembered what we were doing it for. Righto, so now a little bit of water in it, and we should at least be able to see if we've got a charging system. Why 2 radiator caps? I bet you there's something there that I'm going to find out. Alright, so we've got our water hooked up, we've got charging clamps on. We can pretty much go for a drive now. Oh no, we can't. Oh, we can, but we're not going far. I only got that little drink bottle as a fuel tank, so what I might do is, as I said, we have got the whole fuel system there. I just disconnected that pipe from the pump because of that fuel neck. So what I might do is I'll back him round over onto the concrete so I can get a jack under the back of him, and we might see if we can put a filler neck and spout on him and start buttoning up that fuel tank. You watch, it won't start now that I've said everything's right. Good on you, girl. Righto. We've still got gears. Oh, she's loving it. Oh Jesus, don't run into Tomo. Don't run into Tomo. So these are the slim picking pipes that I have, mainly off old F100s, that one off a 350 I think, but it's fuel resistant hose as opposed to just trying to use a radiator hose. So I'll see if I can butcher something up with this. I think that guy's the diameter I need. We'll see we go. See if I can do it without lifting this tub off. And why I say without lifting the tub off, obviously the metal section's got to go down there. But if you look, it's going to go up in that area there between the chassis and the body. So there's not a lot of room to muck about. So I'll see if I can get it on. Failing that, I'll just undo the bolts and we're going to have to lift the tub on the hoist and do it that way. That one's about the closest diameter wise, so I'm going to soak it in some hot water, see if I can soften him up a little bit. As far as the little pipe, I think I've got options. So if I can just get this big guy on there, and I think that diameter's, get out of the way. Yeah, not even close probably, but if I can get that on there, I can worry about that guy, whether I've got to cut it or do something with it. Oh look, it's got a thingy in it to stop sloshing. Yeah, anyway, I can cut it, manipulate it afterwards. I wonder if it's got one of those things in the other end. Oh, look at that. Yep. So this is probably a lot later model than this truck. I don't actually know what that's off then, but anyway, it's going to do the job. here got to cut off. It doesn't feel like it's the same size. What else to do? WD, heat it back up, it's cooled down now. This isn't going to work. Don't look there. Look over there somewhere. Come on. Absolutely no chance. No chance. Righto. So I'm going to have to get hose. It's Saturday. It's actually Saturday afternoon. So I can't get hose until Monday. That's no big deal. We've got heaps to carry on with. Anyway, let's stop whinging. Get on with it. So for now, to get some fuel into it, because I just want to put the fuel system back together. Is it long enough? Yes. Just. So I'm going to put that in there. Put the jerry can in there. How am I going to do this? Oh, just like that. Oh, hang on. Not that I think it will, but just in case it starts siphoning out the other end, I better connect up that end of the fuel line. Right, now we can continue on. So I'll get my little makeshift fuel tank out. Let's see if we can get him to run off his own fuel tank. And you'll be able to tell when that filter fills up, but we'll see how we go. Going to create a little fuel leak here. See if I can let some air out above the filter. Oop. And that's why, that's just spewing fuel out because it's locking air in there. Yeah, I've got fuel going everywhere, so hopefully it'll backfire and catch the whole show on light, and that's where we'll end the episode. I'll sit that there for 1 second. Just sit there for 1 second. Can you, please? I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say that's a new pump, because that went everywhere instantly. It looks pretty new. I just can't remember doing it, that's all. Righto, so I think there must have still been fuel in that line then, because that was really quick to get its own fuel. So I'll just let it idle over for a bit. And if you look there now, it seems to be getting its own fuel in that filter. It's not full, so it's still got a bit of air in there. That's me pushing it. Maybe we can fix that later. Whatever. Righto, so fuel system's back to where it was. We should be able to drive him. Well, I think I'm going to be the bringer of bad news. I think I'm going to drive it right now. I think I'm going to run out of time. So all we're going to do is get on to the next step, and I'll show you what we're doing there. like I said, with this thing's paint, every time I turn around there's just more and more falling off. So what I want to do is I want to hit this as hard as I can with a pressure cleaner and just get everything that looks like it could fall off. Because tomorrow morning we're going to start sanding on some of this and see if we can't even this ugliness out. Alright, I'll move him out on the grass and we'll start pressure cleaning. See what's left of it when we start pressure cleaning. I think all this will come off, all this pink. It's all cracked. I guess we'll see. Look, it is beer time, but I'm probably going to keep pressure cleaning this thing till dark, because any paint I can get off this now, it's going to be less to sand. And yes, if you haven't figured out, we are going to do some paint work, but not the way you think. I'm actually going to try and blend the patina from the back into the front to make it look like it's all the one truck, and yeah, more patina. But before you go, is patina dead? I actually don't think so. I actually think it's about to have a massive resurgence, because you think about what made patina fashionable in the first place, and it was the cost of classic cars going stupid, and then the cost of labour and the cost of everything just going crazy. It was unaffordable, so patina became an option. Well, what's everyone talking about now? The cost of living. So that was the second part of this, is number one, if I sandblast or media blast this thing, I'm not going to have a car left. It's going to be one of those ones you scrap at the end. So I didn't want to get into those, you know, areas that were going to be really, really sketchy. And so probably the only way I'm going to get away with this one is to try and blend that patina together. And fake patina, I think, gets a really bad rap. And I think it's mainly because of the way it's executed in a lot of instances, is they go to the trouble of layering one colour, two colours, but then they just go around and sand patches, and it just looks like something's got the measles. It doesn't look like patina at all. Anyway, I guess that's where we'll get to in the morning, but call me stupid, but patina is going to have a massive resurgence the more expensive living gets. Only my opinion. I'll see you in the morning. Well, not really. I'm going to keep pressure cleaning. So I didn't really even get close to finishing last night, and I've started taking some door trims off and just some little odds and ends. The mirror, I can't get that bracket off, unfortunately. It's rotted in there, the head of that bolt. But the funny bit that I found is these strip rails. They were full of bog or bondi or whichever, and I just started shipping it out, and look, other than that little rust hole there, there's nothing wrong with it. I expected to see just holes everywhere, and I'm sure I will find some, but I would say they've had one hole somewhere, probably on the other side, and then just filled this one to match, because you don't want that shit not matching. Anyway, I'll keep chipping away at all this. Keep knocking some of this paint off, get back to the bare bones, and then see what we're going to start sanding on. And even on the good bed, that's right, this is the good section, the clear's peeling off, and you can see that metallic blue has faded to a funny looking silver, which I guess is what the sun does to the metallic after the clear's done protecting it. And down here, I'm unsure what I want to do there just yet. We'll see how the front turns out. If it turns out really bad, I'll probably snap that off and expose more rusty steel. But for now, I don't want to touch that too much. I think there's another big can of worms in there, but you never know. I might need it to look shittier. Yeah, that's right. Need it to look shittier. Anyway, I'll keep pressure cleaning. And that is literally just lack of preparation. Maybe too fine a sandpaper, maybe too heavy a paint, maybe not sanding it at all. But even all that primer's coming off, leaving that green behind. I actually prefer that green, but anyway, it's like they didn't even sand half of it. So I think that is about as best I can do. I've been around that 3 or 4 times, and I did remove a few things like the door lock, one of the mirrors, couldn't get that bit off, so it can stay, and just the indicators at the back and then at the front. But every time you go around, you just get that little bit more and a little bit more, so I actually don't think I'm ever going to finish. So if I haven't completely drowned it at this point, because I did go a bit crazy with everywhere, I'll run him up in front of the shed and we'll start getting some paint mixed up. So what I'm going to do with my paint colours, and I use the old Val as an example, is I'm going to start off with a base dark colour like a black or a very, very dark brown. Then I'm going to move into a maroony colour, kind of like you'd see that primer there, and then a couple of different blues. And the reason I say a couple of different blues is exactly this. When the colour starts to weather and fade and the clear breaks down, it's no longer a blue, it goes a lighter version of itself, and sometimes even a different hue. That's quite a nice blue. That's gone a funny green colour. So I'm going to get a couple of different blues and layer them with the top coat as close to that as I can, so it looks like it blends in, but then also has this weathered look on the top. And so here's what I've come up with. I think we're going to have all sorts of trouble with that green that's on that. Is like an industrial enamel. So I think I'm going to show you every paint defect you've ever heard of or seen. I'm pretty much going to have it in one job. So I found this guy. It's a black, says etch primer, but if you read the technical data sheets, it actually says it can be used as a primer surfacer as well, and that's all I want. Maybe something I can dust on, maybe seal a bit of the crap down, but anyway, we'll get into that. It's still going to play up like a second-hand whippersnipper, but that's going to be my black base. The second colour was going to be a little bit difficult because I don't have a paint code for that reddy brown colour, so I got some red. Where's something to open it with? Just standard old red, like that, and I'm just going to try and tint that round just with some acrylic black or something like that, and just dirty it up to try and make it that maroony primer colour. Can't even talk. And then I found this guy. I found this in the paint cupboard and got terribly excited because the lid says Ford Steel Blue Code A. And the more I cast my mind back, that was an F100 I had years ago. I actually had a rusty front of the bed, and that's actually the front of the bed panel, and when I sit that next to that blue, it's virtually identical. So here I was thinking I had the colour. But no, I've messed with it. It's nothing like it. But that'll come in handy because that will be my discoloured blue that I'll put on first. But the fact that I found that and that matches, I now have matching paint. That's our top coat. That's going to be our Ford Code A steel blue. That'll be our final colour. And if you see, well, I don't know about you, but that's good enough for me. Definitely good enough for me. And that was just absolute coincidence. I had that F100 about 6 or so years ago, and me being me, the rust repair panels, or the rusty panels that I cut out, the bits are any good, I saved them as rust repair panels. But the tricky bit is going to be this brown primer colour. As I say, I didn't have a paint code, so I sort of had to wing this one, so we got a red. Because after all, brown is only red, black, maybe some yellow and something, isn't it? Anyway, I guess we'll find out, because that's exactly what I'm going to try and make. I have got a little bit of black acrylic and a little bit of orange, which I have no idea where that came from, but orange acrylic, and a little bit of leftover yellow from Tomo. So if it is just orange, black and red, or yellow, we're going to find out. I'm going to halve it, because if I mess it up, I can start again. That's roughly half. Pretty confident when you're straight off the bat. If I mess it up, and some black, now I have to go pretty steady, because I think this will change it dramatically quickly. Nope. Maybe it won't change it dramatically quickly. That's definitely going to brown though. So I guess doing it this way, my black's my base colour, but it's primer to seal all the nasty in. Oh, we're headed the right way. Then we're going to have our primer colour, which will actually be acrylic top coat, and then we'll have our blue top coat over the top of that. That's actually gone a lot better than I thought. I thought I was going to be messing around with this for hours. Don't mess it up now, Mike. Oh, come on. That's literally the coat I used for that was Monza Red, which is probably the most popular old Ford red ever. And I've literally just tipped some black in it, and I don't know about you, but that'll do me. And actually, when I'm painting it on, I might even go one step further and paint a couple of coats on, add a little bit more to change it slightly, paint another layer on, so when you rub through there's different tones maybe. I don't know. As I said, actually I don't think I did. I haven't done this before. I'm winging it. I'm just sort of guessing it, having seen how real patina forms or looks. I'm just having a crack at it, because like I said yesterday, I think fake patina does get a bit of a bad rap. You see guys layer the colours on, but then just randomly sand patches, and as I said, it doesn't look right. I'm going to try and make this thing look weathered from the top down, but also exaggerate the damage. But anyway, stop talking, let's do something. See if it's dry, see if it'll start, because I did drown it. Pretty happy with that. I might check it against the Val. It's a bit more brown than them. The Val's a bit more maroon, but I can't get over that. Nailed it. Anyway, let's get on with it. Don't need that. Was there any doubt? I'll halve it. Yes, there was plenty of doubt. I can give you the tip. probably start here on the bonnet, but I don't know how far we're going to get. It looks like a bit of rain, and I'm not sanding all of this garbage in the shed because there's going to be like that much dust. I'm not doing it. Anyway, we'll see how far we get today. Hopefully it'll be a bit better tomorrow. But I'm just going to, what's called, feather these edges out. All these little circles of different paint, we've got back to where it won't blow off. So now I'm going to just sand them down and feather them out, but I'm going to be pretty aggressive with it. I'll show you. So that's an 80 grit disc, just a stick-on disc. And no, I'm not putting in a mask, you can't hear me. I will when I get into it, but for now let's just deal with it. And all you're doing is just going around those edges and just feathering them in. So making it so you can't feel them. They're nice and smooth, right? Just like that. And I'll show you. See that section where I've just run over, you can clearly see the different layers of paint. There's no more of a hard edge like that. It's smoothed it off. So if you run your finger over it, you can't actually feel the transition through the 73.5 layers of paint there. So that's all I'm looking for. I'm going to go down to that. I'm not going to try and sand it all off. That'll take me forever. But if I can just go around the edges, get it like that, then I'm going to go back with a finer disc and do that to the whole bonnet. And where we need some attention, like these little pinholes, I'm just going to put some tape. Just stick a piece of tape and move on to the next panel. That way when you come to do these holes, and we'll get to that, you've got maybe 2 or 3 panels ready to do with the one. Let's face it, we're going to body fill them. But anyway, I'll show you what type of body filler to use. One thing I will say when feathering this sort of stuff out is faster is not necessarily always better. In airspeed, I've got that turned down kind of low. Because if you heat it up, all you're going to do is clog that side of your paper. You're really going to heat that paint up. It'll get soft. And the minute it gets soft, it's just going to ball up. If you start seeing little circles, and you have a look on there, you'll have little chunks. Well, that's all you're doing. You're overheating it. So just go nice and steady. You don't have to push too hard either. Let the sandpaper do its job, and just the cooler you can keep it, the better or the more efficient it will sand. So let's get a go at how many layers of green and every other colour there is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's about 7 different greens there. Over the top of some primer, over the top of some, oh god. And I'll show you on this side before I get too in depth on that side. But if I have anything at all for you, I'm not doing any blocking here. There's going to be no hand sanding whatsoever. It just doesn't deserve it. So if you're using an orbital or an oscillating sander, try not to go in on the edge. Try to keep it relatively flat, because you can essentially use that as your block. It's not going to be perfect. There's that much paint on this. You're going to get little ridges and whatever. And the one thing I would say is try to go with the least shape first. You with me? The least shape, as in that's relatively flat that way. If you held a ruler across there and then that way, there's a lot of shape. So go that way first and just keep it moving. And then once you've gone that way, you've essentially sanded little flat patches, then go. And you'll see that little patch there is feathered out. So the least shape first, then go with your shape. Oh, and don't sit in the one spot like, because you're just going to dig a hole, right? Little hole, but you're going to dig it. So just keep him moving. Just like that. Righto, let's get into some time lapse and actually get something done. be it for tonight. It can sleep inside because this time of year we're in for big dews, and I want to keep that dry now that it's started to dry off. There's nothing worse than sanding away and, you know, clogging your paper with moisture and whatever. And I know where your money goes when you're paying for paintwork. That was a solid 2.5 hours on that bonnet, and it's still not ready, and I'm only doing a shitty patina job. So, and I had plenty of time to think while I was sanding on that bonnet. I was thinking, maybe talking about the cost of living, you shiny paint guys, do you want to see some actual paintwork? I think I've picked out the right car, and it'll come up soon. Maybe we'll go a bit further. It'll be slow, you know, episode by episode, but we'll do some DIY paintwork and bodywork that you can do at home with products and make it last, not just this type of crap. You know, done the right way, but done yourself sort of thing. So anyway, that might come up shortly. For now, I'm green. I might go and get washed up because it's definitely beer time. See you in the morning. So just while we're having this little shower, I thought I'd go onto the sections I can actually rub wet and get away from the dry sanding. Obviously spots of rain don't mix very well with dry sanding, but I'm just Scotch-Briting all of the back, the whole lot, because when I start flicking colour around, I don't actually know where I'm going to stop. Obviously I know I'm going to put some colour up here, and I'll get to that. I'm kind of working backwards. Scotch-Brite the lot, and then I'll sand down the top section where I know I'm going to put some colour. But these sort of jobs can get a little bit overwhelming. Try to keep it small. Say do from that line down, get that done, and then maybe from that line down. That way if you have to walk away, you can pick up where you left off. And when you've finished it, chamois it, dry it, and I'll show you what I mean. Go back over it. If you get the reflection on it, you can sort of see there's still sort of glossy patches here and here. Go back over it, get it all dull like that, just so the paint sticks. Yeah, that's right, so the paint sticks and it doesn't turn out shit, whatever. But I do want to flick a little bit of colour down there just to match the front. See if we can blend it all together. And say around here, and this is sort of what I'm saying, see the glossy patch there? That's very obvious there. How you can see where the Scotch-Brite marks are, a little bit glossy there. Come back and go over that section again. Just make it all look nice and even and scratched. Scratch all this right up. So I'm going to put one coat. I'd like to say low sheen, but it's probably going to be like a semi-gloss, just thinned out acrylic clear. I'm going to put at least one coat over the whole lot just to seal the metallic and that in. For now it looks like my rain's gone away. We'll get back into this dry sanding. So I've got right around this thing now once, and that was with that 80 grit. You can see fairly coarse scratches there, and I've just marked all the concerning areas, and there's lots of them, just with tape, this sort of stuff across the front of the bonnet. And all it is little holes like that. I'm not replacing the bonnet, we're just going to patch these up, and then once it's on the road you could decide, do I want to go and find a bonnet, do I want to look for another guard or door or whichever. This is just, let's get it done now. And these guys, I'm not going to use a normal body filler. I'm actually going to use a filler that has got fiberglass strands through it So to get it to hold on a little better, you just give them a little tap, just dent them in slightly, just with the end of a ball paint or something like that. And that'll just create a tiny little dent around it and just give it a bit more to grab onto, and the fibers actually go into the hole and hold on. And then once you've finished painting, go around and just fish oil, and you'll be surprised how long that'll stay good enough to use. I'm not going to say it's repaired, it's patched up like I said, but this is a do it now thing, not a do it for the rest of its life thing. And all the really nasty ones, like there's one on that cab corner and the bottom of that door, I'm not going to hide them. I'm going to dent them in slightly, use the filler, and then I'm going to use a metallic brown or something like, more or less to highlight them and try and turn it into more patina. And this is the garbage I'm using. If you see, it's got little fibers in it, like little fiberglass strands, and it just holds onto the, if you're trying to fill a hole, it just holds onto it a little bit better rather than normal Bondo or normal body filler. And yes, this is completely the wrong way, but I guess there's a million reasons you do it this way. 1, it doesn't deserve any better. 2, cost. 3, time. Just get it on the road and worry about after. Like that bonnet, you can get aftermarket bonnets. Let's just get it on the road, and then when you're running and driving, get some new panels. Maybe look for another cab or whichever. Anyway, there's going to be that one guy that says, oh, you went to all that trouble, why don't you just paint it? No, I didn't go to all that trouble. I just sanded it. To sand it to the point that we're going to paint it is probably a day or 2. I'll go out on a limb, and you painters and panel beaters know exactly what I'm saying. You would not have one panel, say a door, paint stripped, rust repaired, primed, ready for paint in that 2 days. You just wouldn't. We're talking a couple of days ready for some rough patina paint versus hundreds of hours if you were trying to do that mint. So no, I haven't gone to all that effort. I've actually done the total bloody opposite. I've gone to no effort whatsoever. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to get him running and driving. We're going to put him on the road and then worry about shit. Or probably not actually, but anyway. So just mix this crap together, and my tape's going to tell me the real bad bits. I'll just get some in. And normal body filler is pretty much just going to fall straight through the hole. But this stuff with a bit of fibre or matting or whatever you want to call it, this is why to roughen up shit like this, I don't mind it. And you're only putting a tiny bit in, just straight over it. Probably got a bit crazy there. Little dent around there. Completely the wrong way to do it, but we're doing it like this for a reason. Like I said, it's a piece of shit. This definitely needs a complete new bonnet and guards and doors. One thing I will say about this stuff is when you sand it, it's actually porous. You're going to find little pinholes all through it, so you're not actually supposed to prime over it. You're supposed to put a body filler over it, something fine. I'm probably not going to do that. I don't care if it does sort of have pinholes all through it, because I think it'll just look like stone chips. So I got a couple of my little patches done just with that fiberglass matting or fiberglass body filler. I'm just going to whiz back over it while we've got a bit of a break in the rain, a little bit of blue sky coming through. I'll whiz over those, pull some more body filler over that, and then we're right to pretty much go around and do our second sanding, and that was 80 grit scratches. We're going to take it down to about a 280 or maybe a 320. I'll see what it, I'll start with one, and if it's fine enough I'll leave it. But we've got a few little patches everywhere. Alright, I'll keep going while the sun shines out. well, kind of out. So that's what I mean about pinholes. Hang on, try again. So that's what I mean about pinholes. You can just see the little dimples. You can just see those little porous sections there. Now, if you're trying to do a decent job, number one, you wouldn't be doing it like this. But two, you'd have to re-body fill over that to catch those pinholes, then prime over the top of that. I'll probably do none of that and just paint it. Okay, so I'm getting carried away now. But here's why. Let me explain. I was going to do all these little rough patches and exaggerate them with, I know, a rusty coloured metallic bronze over the primer, but there's so many of them. It'll be all the bottom of that door, the bottom of that guard, into there, up there. There's nothing left. There'll be literally no blue left. And on this side, because that quarter is so good, I kind of want a fair bit of blue so it looks like it's the one vehicle. That's the whole point. So as much as I want to exaggerate them and make them look ugly, I've actually gone over and body filled every one of them and then sanded them down smooth. Even some little ones there that probably didn't need too much, just so I can get at least a decent patch of blue through here, and then just patina from the top down. Obviously that drip rail is going to be nothing but rusty colour because the roof's going to be where natural patina would be at its worst. So it is getting a little out of hand, but I think spending the extra couple of minutes just mucking around on those repairs, it'll make it more believable, like it's all one body, one truck. I have body filled the front across the bonnet there where I said I probably wasn't going to, for the very same reason. I'm thinking I might put a little bit of blue across the front rather than rust, and maybe try and stone chip it or something like that, and then just leave the top of the panel with the primer showing through. Yep, getting carried away now, and same on the other side. There's just going to be patches everywhere, and it just wasn't going to be enough blue. So if I can smooth a couple of these bigger areas out and have more blue through there, that pillar's clearly going to be nothing but rust. And I think, as much as I don't want to, I think I'm going to have to snap this out. It's hanging in there by the skin of its teeth, but that pillar is going to be nothing but primer and rusty colour, so I think I want that to blend in. So a bit of natural patina here at the back, extended into the bottom, the rusty bar. Hopefully that'll all blend in together and look right, rather than just a lot of rusty looking patches and then a nice big blue quarter panel. And of course I'm going to bring some, I'm yet to sand that, but of course I'm going to bring some primer down off the top of that, like sunburn as well. Anyway, it is getting a little bit out of hand, but I think it'll be worth it. So I'll just keep sanding these patches. I'm still marking areas of interest. Areas of interest, who are you kidding? Shitty areas. I've got a couple more there that I'm just going to go back over. A couple of little dents and holes, and I shouldn't say a couple of little dents. I'm not filling dents. That's just smoothed out. There's still a dent there. They're actually... See that? It's a tiny little pinhole, I think, or a weld. So anyway, I'll get that just so it seals it up. I at least want it waterproof or weatherproof. You know, enough talking. I'll keep going, but it looks a lot better, even just getting rid of all that pink primer. Just pity I didn't find a green bed, because I actually don't mind the green. But anyway, blue it is. Let's keep going. Oh, just remembered another one. Don't body fill over paint. Don't do anything I'm doing actually, but no, seriously, if you are trying to do a decent job, don't body fill over paint. The theory is, one, I don't know what that paint is. That darker green, like I said, could be a tractor paint or enamel or whatever. Let's say that's all acrylic, which I think that olive, start again. I think that olive color there, whew, is acrylic lacquer. Acrylic lacquer is a thermoplastic. It softens with heat. So if you put something hard that doesn't soften with heat over that, and then it heats up, say the engine or a sunny day, theoretically it moves, and over time that's what cracks your body filler out. You with me? Don't care here, but if you are trying to do a decent job, don't body fill over paint. Go over bare metal, or you know, epoxy if you're going crazy. So I reckon I'm going to run out of daylight again today. And I know that seemed like a hell of a lot of effort and a hell of a lot of sanding for such a heap of shit. But on the inside I'm buzzing like a little kid. This thing was absolute scrap. And I'm getting pretty excited that with a bit of blue on this could actually turn into a, I don't know, a cool-ish Patina cruiser. Cool wheels, okay stance, V8. I can think of worse ways to get around. Anyway, I'll keep sanding until dark, but I'll see you in the morning for the fun stuff. Masking, well, a little bit of prep, I'm going to run out of time, but masking and start throwing a bit of colour around if the sun actually comes out. Anyway, see you in the morning. So the sun's actually decided to come out today. I'm just finishing the sanding down the side. The cab is pretty much all sanded up, ready to go, and it is horrendous, honestly. So I think I stewed on this all night, but I do think I need to snap that out. I don't want to, but I just think the tub isn't rough enough to match what that's going to look like. That cab pillar's absolutely crap. That's crap. And when I start throwing colour on that guy to make it believable that it all could be the one tub, I'm pretty much going to have to make this rougher, which means that is going to get sacrificed. And I guess there has been so much sanding because I literally started with the worst possible product. Fair enough, if it was damaged and a bit rusty and never been painted, probably would have took maybe an afternoon. But this thing's been painted, oh, countless times, literally countless times. Like how many, if I can find a piece of steel, which I can't, so there's blue primer there, and just count the rings like rings in a tree trunk. There's just so much paint on it, and I'm gonna do it again. Just, I can't even, well, there's steel. You just count the rings as you go in. Anyway, let's crack this out. I don't know why I'm so disappointed with having to do that. Maybe because that is actual patina, it's part of the life of the truck, but it does look pretty bad. So if I can get it to look like that, and then I'll mask that rust, clear coat the rust, and then we're just gonna semi-gloss clear the rest of it to match when we put some blue on the front. The sun's out, but it's still not that warm. I'm probably gonna have to rotate it around to warm up the panels. Although that's not too bad. The problem with painting when it's too cold is it will still dry over time, but it'll do what's called blooming or blushing, and especially reds. So that, and say this brown, it's got a lot of red in it. The brown I'm going to put on it, it can go chalky, which won't worry me too much on this one, but it would if you were trying to do good paintwork. Anyway, stop talking. Let's just, oh Jesus. That's pretty thick. Looks pretty cool, but I'll just get it back to hard so no more wants to come out. Oh wow. That's like 10 mil thick. And there. I'm so masking that in. I'm going to run tape around that and clear coat that. Do I get that bit too? I suppose I've come this far. That'll do. That's awesome. Not really. Maybe not 10 mil, but it's getting up there. Seven, 8 maybe. So I'm just going to go around once more by hand now and just check all my edges. Just check I've got no body filler hanging off the edges. It's all rubbed and smoothed. Just things like this. See that little edge there? It's a bit crap. I'll just rub down that edge. Well, the whole thing's crap, but... And then I'll back him back into the sun and try and warm up these panels and start doing probably the most inadequate masking job ever and just get all the dust and everything off this guy. Ready to start the fun bit. And this is what I like about this old girl. One tap. Look at that. Wait, select reverse. Oh, there we go. Little appointment to get reverse. Sort of selects whenever it feels like it. We'll just put him back in the sun. Oh, it's not perfect, but if I can keep my masking to the point where I can still get a door open, I can, you know, manipulate it around if I need to. Now, like I said, my masking is going to be completely inadequate. I'm not doing anything under the bonnet because I actually want to throw a bit of black across that green first. So I might chuck something over my amazing chrome air cleaner. No, probably not. Alright, that's my masking for the front. As I said, I'm going to throw a bit of black around the engine bay. Well, not the engine bay, the edges where it's still green and under the bonnet. And I've blown the dust off this about 11,000 times. But once I get them masked up, I'll actually do it maybe once or twice more and prep-sol the whole thing. Not that I really have to worry about, you know, contaminants. The whole truck's a contaminant. I'll just cover up my fantastically new wheels and I think we're just about ready to start putting some black primer on. My son just came down and said it looks like the weather report. It's like a low trough pushing up into the I don't know what. Anyway, it kind of does in a funny way. Cloud animals everywhere. Anyway, let's get it blown off. When you're wax and greasing it, or prep-soling it, it puts a slight gloss over it as you're wiping it. You can sort of get a window into how it's going to look with a gloss. I don't want a gloss. Doesn't look that great. So we're just going to stick with semi-gloss. The only bit I'm actually worried about getting paint on is my new wheels. That's bad, isn't it? When literally by a country mile the best part of the whole car is the wheels. Anyway, we're going to change all that. We're going to make it all good. Be part of the whole package. Package of shit. So I'll probably put one more light coat on that. Just a little bit see-through in a couple of spots. I can still see it, a hint of green, but we'll mask off this blue and I'll explain why. See, I've got to do this, I guess, a bit back to front. The front, I'm putting my black down, then my primer colour, then my blue. Well, we've already got the blue here. So to make this look the same, I'm actually going to mask it off, finish the front in the blue, then I'm going to paint the maroon and the black onto this one in the complete reverse. So for now, I don't want any black or maroon on that. I want to keep that separate, just for now. That goes the theory. Whether it works or not, I don't know, but have I mentioned that? I haven't done this before. I'm winging it. I'm not going to worry too much about the brake booster. From what I felt yesterday putting it in the shed, nearly going through the wall, I'd say the brake booster left me. So we might be replacing that shortly. It just left at the wrong time. Looks better already. I'll show you a little promising sign too. And while that engine bay's just tacking off, and I'll get to that in a second, I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. From this point forward, I'm not telling you this is how to do. I haven't done it before. I've got a fairly good understanding of how natural patina forms, and that's all I'm going off. Like I said right at the start, you see guys layer the paint and then they just go and sand a patch here and a patch here and a patch here, and it just looks like measles. That's not how real patina forms or deteriorates. It's from sun damage, from damage and that sort of thing, and that's how I'm going to slow right down on this and think about it and try and just layer it in the way I want it. I don't want to go and put 2 coats of black, 2 coats of brown, 2 coats of blue, and then go and sand, you know, you put 3 litres of blue on and sand 2 litres off. Well, I only bought a litre. So I'm going to try and do it extremely tight ass and don't put the blue where I don't want it to a certain degree. There's going to be sections I've got to sand, but I'm going to try and minimise sanding. But like I said, from here on in, it's not a how-to, it's just what I'm thinking, and we'll see how it goes. On the engine bay subject, tiny bit of confidence growing. I just used an underbody black and the same thinner that I'm going to use in this primer, and technically that's the same paints on the outside, and I dumped it on in a couple of sections, and by dump it on I mean I put it on a little bit too wet in a couple of sections deliberately to see if it was going to lift those edges. Remember I was saying about edge mapping and shrink back and all the rest of it? It hasn't yet. So let's cross our fingers. I'll get this black primer on. I'm going to put a very light coat on first, see how it reacts, and then go from there. Alright, let's stop talking while the sun's out. Now here's the catch-22. I don't want it too thin. Too thin will be too aggressive, too much thinners, but I don't want it too thick, because if it's too thick I'm going to have to lay it on so it's not dry and furry. I don't want to do that either, because I fry those edges up. I just don't want to poke the bear, you know what I'm saying? So I might go like a 70-30, which is exactly that much. Whatever. Actually, that's probably a bit too thin. Yep, I'll take that back. Too thin. I want it thicker than that. This is single pack, so when you're finished with it, you can just tip it back into the can. It's not going to harden like a 2-pack, and being a single pack, it dries really fast as well. I like that when you're doing stuff outside. That'll do. It's good enough for me. Righto, get your gun. Let's get stuck into this. So I'll get a little bit on the on the roof where you can't see, but when I get down here I'll give you a bit more of an idea. You're just going to get your fan like that, and you're about that far away, about a hand span away. I'm going to have my air pressure quite low. I'm not going to blast this on, and just see how nice and even I can get it on. The way I'm struggling with that, I would say not very even at all. And gentle, light on the first coat. I don't want these edges to fry up. I think I've said that 70 times, but whatever. And a good tradesman always blames his equipment. Having a bit of trouble with the fan, but I would just say I had a bit of trouble with remembering to clean the gun properly last time I used it. Maybe that's probably the thing. There we go, there we go. Looks atrocious, but right now it's all one colour, and so far the edges are not frying up. So we talked about edge mapping and things like that. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but see how there's a ring? I'll just move around and see if you can see it at different angles, but you can just see little rings around everything. That's why I go nice and light, just don't want all that to jump out at me too hard. I've given that a solid 15 minutes, and I was actually going to give it a little bit longer because it's not that warm here today, but it's very touch dry now, so it's flashing off real quick. I'll probably have to give the top coats a little longer, but I'll get stuck into the second coat of the black. I'm going to break my rule where I say I didn't want any colour out the back here. I'm actually going to put a little bit of black along the top here, so when I put the primer brown over, I'm only really sanding the primer brown. Does that make sense? Probably not, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm winging it, alright? Winging it. Just so if anything, when I rub through, it looks like you're back to metal or rusty metal. We'll get stuck into mixing our brown. We already mixed it, idiot. No, thinning it out. And I saw how much paint that took, and I'm kind of surprised. So I don't know if I've made enough brown, but the thing is now I can't make it again because I just used my black. So anyway, I'm going to do exactly what I said and concentrate on areas I know are going to need brown. I'm not just going to paint the whole car brown. I might, but I'm going to do the areas I know are going to need it first. So we'll thin this one out. Shouldn't be too bad. That was a little over half of what I had, wasn't it? Remember I halved it? Can't remember how much I had there. And then we added whatever. And this is where I've really got to sort of slow down and think about it so I don't run out. I want this primer showing in the most weathered areas, obviously the top of the bonnet and the top of the roof, to the point where they're going to be so weathered they're going to go through to that black we just put on. Then once I've got those areas and maybe a couple of the damaged spots and maybe along here, because the sun would be beating down on there, not so much up under that lip, but down onto that edge. I might put a bit there as well, and just really where you would see natural patina form on the most exposed areas. There's a few bits here that I'm going to leave completely blue. As I said before, because there is quite a bit of blue, I want to try and leave some fairly large areas blue. And if you see the middle of that door and into that guard actually didn't come up too bad, ironically. They actually didn't come up too bad at all. So that's where I'm going to be able to put a fair bit of blue through it. But the bit I might have fairly weathered is up around the pillar where it's a bit shitty, around the drip rail. This guy really wouldn't be weathered at all because it's hidden by that drip rail, but the top I'm going to make rusty and shitty, like it's really heavily weathered. So a lot of blue around here, a lot of blue in the plenum area on those sides, a lot of blue through the middle, but the real weathered areas I want is obviously your cool arm out the window patch for the driver, and then a lot of patina, a lot of weather on the bonnet. So I'll start by putting the brown where I know I'm going to have it exposed, and then if I have enough I'll go over everything in case I rub through. This guard's going to be quite damaged. Like, look at that shit. There's welds there I left exposed. I gotta tell you, I'm digging that colour, a rusty brown type of colour. I didn't use a lot of paint, and that's got one coat on the areas I want it. I'll do that again and just go a little wider, so I'll just go over that so they highlight and stand out, and then we'll start looking at some blue. And I've just tipped out a little bit of that brown just to keep it spare, because once I've done putting all the blue on here, that's when we'll take this masking completely down. I suppose I can put up that back up now. And that's when we'll put the brown across there, because that's going to be the exposed primer. If you remember, I've got to go back the other way. So I'm going to put some, when I'm putting the wrong colour blue on this first, the lighter colour blue, I'll do across there, then the brown. But you can start to see, well, how shitty it is. No, you can start to see the layers are going to work as they come through. Well, I think they are. Slight change of plan. I think I'm going to need all that brown, so I don't want to leave any to a side. I'm going to go with my wrong blue first in a different gun, do my quarters, then I can actually finish up. Get rid of that. Then I can actually finish up the maroon on the quarter panels. Maroon, brown, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to think as I go. So I'm just going to put a bit of this blue on those quarters now. So this should be a lighter blue. Remember where the clear deteriorated, to show you at the start. I'll put it back in here, but it goes lighter as the clear deteriorates. Well, that's what I'm going to try and replicate. nothing like it on the stick. It looks almost the same colour. I just added a little bit more silver. And you can tell if it changed, like holding the paint like that and dripping the existing colour. Come in closer, I'll show you. See how that's a little bit silverer? Silverer? Is that a word? Jesus. Just a little bit more blue and green to that, the drip. So anyway, that's a bit more silver. I must be feeling the pinch and making up words. Silverer. Dictionary meaning more silver than it was before. Yep, definitely silverer. So back to our brown, I can put a little bit across the tops of the quarters and then use the rest for the front. And as not different as that looks, geez, I'm coming out with the terms today, not different. I reckon when I sand that, the two different shades of blue is going to stand out, and that's what I want. I want one lighter to stand out, like as if the clear had deteriorated and it started to fade. So now I'm just going to go along, bring in my weather damaged primer. And hopefully in a bit of a random shape. That's drying really dark, so I reckon I'm going to add a touch of red. And I mean, all that's going to do is, as I sand through, it's just going to add another layer. Same way all those rings are in the old paint. Just a little. Just to lighten it. I'm almost putting stripes in the bonnet to try to make a darker, lighter stripe. Alright, here we go with the blue. This is where I've got to think about it. I don't want, this is the wrong blue. This is the more silverer blue. I don't want to put really any on top. Or actually, I take that back. I'm going to put a couple of real faint stripes of the light blue to make it look like there's still a little bit left there. I'm not going to put the actual colour on. The dark blue will try and keep to the sides and where up around the doors where, you know, it would be. This one, I'm going to do the front edge of the windscreen, the back edge of the windscreen, because the weather wouldn't really get there. Not as much as the top anyway. I'll put some across the bonnet, the front at least, some on the plenum, so if I rub through the darker blue we can get the silver. Anyway, this I've got to think with this one, just don't chuck it everywhere. And I'm just touching this ever so gently to the paint. So that I can get my door frame blue without my drip rail blue. This is looking really blue, like really almost too blue. And I want it as close to that back color as I can. I don't want to repaint the back. So I better spray a little bit of that out, I think. Do a bit of a colour match on him. That's not the gun, you idiot. That shocks me, but it's actually pretty bloody good. Good enough for me. I'm just sitting that on there. It's touch dry, it's not raining, but just I don't want any paint there. I don't want any paint up here too, but I can get away with that. Where else? Probably back here. I just don't want to be sanding forever. And you'd have to have that coming down into there, wouldn't you? I'll try not to get hard lines, but the rest of that I can pretty much hit. I'm gonna have to let that dry overnight because it's getting late in the arvo and my sun's disappeared. So I'm not gonna unmask it. I was actually hoping to be able to start sanding on it now, but it's just gonna be too rubbery. It's dry to touch, but if I start sanding on it, it's just gonna ball up in your paper. But tomorrow, I won't unmask it. I'll just start sanding, and in case there's any bits I don't like, then I'll touch them up with blue or brown or whichever and go from there. So far I don't mind all of it. You can see how thin it is there. I'm only going to touch that with a bit of sandpaper and I'll be through to the primer. Same with there. And the roof, I didn't even put any colour on the roof. And the door frame, you know, looks unweathered, whereas the rust colour in the top, I'll get that nice arm V in there, and then just give her one quick coat of clear and we're done. And as I say, I'm not going to unmask that yet, as much as I want to, and start sanding on it. It's just going to turn to shit is basically what it's going to do. It'll clog your paper, it'll rip paint, it won't sand properly. So I just got to be a bit patient, which I don't do very well. However, I do love making basically something from absolutely nothing, and that's about as close as I've come. That thing was dead set scrap. It wants to run and drive. It actually doesn't run too bad. Blows a little bit of smoke when you first start it. That could be a set of valve stem seals. I know, a couple of hour job. And I'm pretty sure the brake booster failed on me yesterday when I was putting it in the shed. So there is still a little bit of work to do inside. I know right now it looks like there's more patina on the back than there is on the front, which that's not the way it's going to end up. If you remember, I've had to do it in two ways. This one's back to front, the top coat's on it. I've added the primer brown to it. But when I start sanding that back, those patches are going to get smaller and smaller. Well, at the front it's going to be the opposite. When I start taking that blue away, the patches are going to get larger and larger. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get away without clearing the whole thing, because when I start sanding the little bits of blue metallic, it's going to leave sanding marks through it. Anyway, I guess I'll see, but I pretty much want to sand patches on everywhere, so I may as well clear the whole thing. And I don't think I can get away without doing it like that to get an even semi-gloss over the whole thing. I want to sand a bit of damage into it too. You see at the back of the cab there, it's got some dents and whatever. I'm going to sand all them up. And anyway, Like I said, I know I don't look excited, but I'm fizzing inside. This thing's, it's going to be cool to me. I'll see you in the morning. Okay, so this is the bit I've been waiting for. This is where we make this complete and utter lie that is this truck. We try and make it believable. I'm going to start wet sanding in my patches and try and bring out that primer on the bonnet and everywhere else, I think. Just see if we can make this look like it was one vehicle. I say this is the bit I was waiting for because I guess I had it all up here, but have I laid it on so it looks believable when I start, I don't know, sanding into it, and already I'm saying nope, no it doesn't. I haven't gone far enough with my maroon, brown, whatever colour up that way. I've got a blue ring around it. It shouldn't be. It should be this side, but I might have to put some more brown on top of this. But anyway, I guess that's what we'll find out, if I can get it to look somewhat believable. That's kind of what I like about this sort of garbage, is if I don't like it when I've sanded it down, I'll just add some more colour to it. I started on the back because I thought it would be the hardest bit, because if you remember, I'm doing it in reverse. The top coat's already on, then I put this blue on to give it the appearance of weathering through, then the primer, but I haven't put enough primer over this edge, so I'm actually going to add a bit more brown back into this edge, just in the top there, and try and get rid of, see that speckly edge, I want to smooth that off a bit, just so it's more like a rounded, weathered through edge. It looks deliberate there. It looks like it's painted on, or does it? I don't know. Anyway, I just want to maybe add a bit more brown in that, and I'm going to do that before I start sanding on the front, just so that can dry and I can have another bit of a sand back. See that? I don't think that's believable. One thing I'm learning is rub in circles. You can almost see the direction I've rubbed there. It's almost a distinct line. I want to soften that back up, and I didn't put enough primer down here. If it's going to weather on that edge, it'll weather down into this edge as well. So I'll have a quick another go at that bit, and a little bit across the top, and maybe around these patches here, just put a little bit more of the primer brown colour. I don't mind the top of the gate. I think it looks okay, and I definitely like over here. I definitely like the little black fleck through the top. It gives it sort of 3 dimensions, you know, it's not all the one colour. I don't mind that at all. But yeah, just that edge, I want to try and sharpen it up, I guess you'd say. It's speckly and smooth, I want to sharpen it up. So I'll see, I'll just dust a bit more brown back into that. I'm going to use a little more air pressure, I think. I turned the pressure right down to create some texture, but I think it might have backfired on me a little bit. My amazing masking. I don't hate it. I think at the minute, while it's still glossy, I'm not believing it, but once I start to sand and these little fuzzy bits go away again, having that little bit sharper edge might look a bit more believable. I'll just take a bit of that fuzz away and leave that edge there and here. Righto. So up front, I'm going to give myself a bit of a head start. I know I said I wanted to do minimal sanding, but I'm going to hit it with a very fine disc first on the bits that I know I want primer showing. Around that dent there, in that edge there, and of course the bonnet, roof. Just going to give a real quick whiz down and then come back hand sand. So just clean that disc off. Say there where there's a bit of a dent. This is a 400 disc if you're wondering, 400, and then I'll hand rub over it with an 800 just to bring some more out. Where else? That's hideous. That really is hideous, isn't it? I'll bring those two together, and then that's wet, so I'm not going to do that bit right now. I'll get on the other side. I don't want to go too far with it, because then I'm going back to what I said about just making it look like it's got measles, but there's an old weld there where I've welded up the guard, so I want that to look shitty. And big dent there, big pucker there, and then just some weather along there. So that's a head start. I guess I'll just get into the hand rubbing. All right. So that's it sanded once around, and it did get a bit difficult. I ended up going back to a 400 on the top panels. The bonnet I believe it. There's a few dents there, there's still got paint, there's some paint damage there, but I like how it looks layered, looks roughed in like it could have wore that way. But there's a few patches I'm not sold on yet, and that would be that one there. I had the orange patches here, right, that primer colour through the quarter, and the front's standing up a lot blacker, a lot more black coming through, so I tried to put a bit of that brown or reddy brown into here, but I don't actually like it. I don't think it looks right. I'm going to sand it back off, but of course now I have to wait for it to dry, so I think I'm going to sleep on it overnight and then take another look in the morning. That one I'm not sold on either. I need it to look more, you know, it's got rings and shit all through that bit and not through that bit, although there is some genuine damage underneath. And again, I tried to spot in that, but I don't like it. So at this point, I'm just going to press pause, sleep on it for the night, and then come back to it. That damage, I think I'm going to wire wheel it and just, that's a weld. I think I'm going to wire wheel that paint off it. I just let it rust, I think. But we're getting there. It's starting to look somewhat believable. I'm just not sold on parts of it like there. Oh, actually, I haven't finished sanding. I haven't gone back around my tailgate. Come on, Michael, pick up your act. But I do need to go right back around it with a finer sandpaper, because I went fairly hard on the really rough bits like the bonnet and the roof. I've got to go back and make it finer, because if I clear coat it, you can see all the rubbing lines. Well, they're all going to show up. That's actually done with 800, so I'm probably going to have to go over that again. And to try and tone these guys down a bit, like I said, they were standing out, they were really bright orange, as opposed to, say, that one I don't mind. It looks like a arm out the window type of weathered. And I've tried to leave more blue on this side than the other side. Patina cars have always got one side that's worse than the other, and that's right, this is the good side. No, this is the side with more blue on it. I wouldn't say it's the good side, but I do like that. But the roof, really weathered looking. That door, I just got to bring that look into there. I'm not believing that just yet. It's like that looks more textured, whereas I tried to get rid of the texture on that one. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should rub it back till my texture comes back, because that definitely looks like it's weathered through, and that's back to the primer there. I like how that came up. I think I might need to add a little bit of black. I've put a little bit of black on them just to try and darken them down to blend in, but I might have to go back to sand that so it goes speckled again like that. I think those harder edges, as much as I thought they'd look better, I don't know if they do. Lots of indecision. Anyway, it's better than it was. I like the bonnet. It reminds me of old timber. When I first started sanding, I saw all these rings and I was like, ah, maybe I should have sanded that flatter before I started laying. But I actually like it now. All the rings around that, it's just part of the patina, I think, although it's fake. Okay, I think I'm making some headway. I just went back and looked at my edges. Remember I tried to smooth them out, or actually I tried to make them a bit of a harder line, thinking that's how it should look, but I actually think that looks more believable. And that's not hard lines at all. It's very gentle and gradual as it fades out into the weathered paint, or what looks like weathered paint. So I've gone completely back the other way, and I just really aggressively sanded straight up and down like that, and this bit I now think looks more believable than that crap. So I'm going to almost do away with that and just leave the top, maybe sand that completely off. I don't know. There is a fair bit of blue on here. Maybe if I can put something like that, extend that patch through the top there, through that one. Maybe then I don't need that guy there. That just doesn't look right. Yeah, I think I went the wrong way. I think I was trying to make those edges sharper, thinking that would look right, but it doesn't. That actually looks more believable than this. So I'm just going to go straight up and down and almost put finger marks in it, so it looks randomly, I don't know, shit. Let's see if that looks any better, because it's all about appearances. That's too much. That's too many, too even. You've been quite OCD, Mike. I am, aren't I? All about cosmetics here. That one's bugging me. I think it's all bugging me. I think I might have to sit back with a beer and just stare at it for a while. It's almost beer time. Sometimes that's when I do my finest work. That looks more believable now. It's got that texture coming back too. Yep, totally the wrong way. It's probably past beer time, really, but I'm actually not going to finish just yet. I think I'm just going to sit back for 10 minutes and have a think. I'm starting to think, number one, that looks better than that. And it's because the blue looks like there's still remnants of it there around the edges, whereas I was thinking smooth off the edges, the transition between the colours, but it actually looks better textured like that is. So I'm actually wondering if I throw a little bit of brown through that gully there, the dent in the dent side. Then a little bit of black to try and replicate that line, still equally shitty going back down the ute. And then actually throw a little bit of blue over the edge, because that's what that looks like. Look, if you look there, it actually looks speckly, but I think that's probably the best, most believable part of the vehicle. Well, not really, the bonnet's definitely the best, with its wood grain looking texture in the bonnet. I actually like that a lot. A few dents there, they're still holding a bit of paint. That guy there. So like I say, I'll just take 10 minutes and just stew on it for a second, just slow down. I won't clear coat it, obviously it's getting late, and it did take a lot longer than I expected too. It's fairly big, and that paint was still a bit, well, it was only done yesterday, so it's still a bit, what would you say, I'm not going to call it green, but you know what I mean, it was still cheesy, so you'd rub it, it was still clogging your paint. So it's not exactly perfect conditions, not that anything here ever is, but anyway, it's got the better of me. I want to take this one up more, up higher. You know what I could do? Just rub through the clear. Just literally start deteriorating the actual paint on the car. Rub through the clear, make a nice big patch, put some black through the middle of it. I like that better already. Yeah, I like that better already. God damn, it's got some clear on it. I still haven't gone through that yet. But I don't think it's going to have to be a big patch. I think I'm just going to maybe bring the clear, go through the clear in a patch like that. Maybe a little bit of brown, a lot of black, and then rub back to start coming through that brown. But look at that, that is thick. Anyway, keep going. That's probably going to be it for today. I'm about to lose my daylight, and I will just have a bit of a think in the morning if there's any more I want to do to it, but I'm a lot happier with those little spots rather than those big patches of primer. They just didn't look right, and as I said, I want to try and make it look believable from 10 feet back, as if it could have been that way. I'll see you in the morning. So this morning it's only going to be a little bit of sanding, or hopefully tidy up those patches that I did last night, see if I can make them look right, and then just go back. You see all these sanding marks there? Let's just go back with finer paper and get them out, because they'll actually show up in the clear coat. The clear won't make them disappear, it'll actually exaggerate them. So I'll just go back over with finer paper, tidy up that. I do want to do something on this lettering. I'm thinking I want to try and make them white. I'll have a think about that while I'm sanding the rest, and then we'll just clean him down and tidy up the masking and tidy up all my masking around here. It's all starting to come apart. Wipe him down and clear coat him. So we're nearly there. So just going back over everywhere with just wax and grease remover or Prepsol, and it temporarily puts a little bit of a gloss on it, which I can tell you I don't want. It's bloody terrible. But this acrylic clear will settle the gloss down, it'll even the gloss out front to back. If you remember, that was 2-pack wood. I probably never said that was 2-pack, but it was. So it was really glossy, so we've flattened that down. So it's becoming brutally obvious to me that it's too cold to paint here this morning. And how I know that, remember I was talking about blooming and blushing where it goes chalky and reds really don't like it. So I sanded that back about 10 minutes ago, started prep tiling around. The time I got back to this side, that's bloomed. It's gone really pink, I guess you'd call it. And I don't actually fully understand. I would have thought if it was going to do it, would have went last night when it was at its coldest. But just sanding that this morning, maybe it opened, took the skin off it and opened it up a bit. And now it's, the only way I can fix that is put a little bit more paint back over it with the panel warm. So I think what I'll have to do is turn the truck side onto the sun, clear coat this side, then turn it around and do the other side. So I'm going to do it in 2 lots, which you normally wouldn't do that because you end up with dry edges where you stop. But this isn't going to matter. And it's a semi-gloss acrylic clear, so I'll turn him side on directly into the sun. We'll get this side cleared, maybe nose him to the sun, get the roof and the bonnet done, turn him around, and then I'll do something with those letterings on the tailgate. Okay, I've sprayed only thinners over that, and it's getting some of its colour back. Still looks a little pink. But then again, when you put thinners over that bit, it does. So maybe when it's all cleared, it'll all look right. Righto, let's just start clearing. And I'll mix this clear up in the sun. See if I can't let it warm up a little. And I'm going to make it fairly thin, like a 70-30-ish, which usually it's a 50-50 if you're doing acrylics. I don't need it to, be glossy, or I don't need to buff it. It is literally just seal off that metallic, put a uniform, I won't say gloss level, but a uniform flat sheen. I reckon I'm going to put on a second coat only because I can still see a lot of the scratchy marks. But geez, that's made that blue pop out. I don't hate it, is what I'm saying. I don't hate it. That's actually touch dry already, so I'll give that maybe 15 minutes only because it is quite cold, but it's nice in the sun. You can touch it, the panel's warm. Then after the second coat, maybe leave it for another 20 or 30, swing it around. I just don't want to cool it off too quick by swinging it around and starting on the other side. Anyway, it's looking believable, maybe. So that's one side, and before you guys jump on me for no mask, I'm in a hurry, I'm not listening anyway, but I like that. It's come out a fairly low sheen sort of a finish there. I don't mind it at all. I'll give that 20 minutes in the sun, then swing around and get that other side cleared. My masking is terrible. I didn't even remember to mask that. Doesn't matter, the screen's cracked anyway, and I can buff that off. It really is a shit show, isn't it? What a glorious shit show it is. That's a real satin type of finish. That's one fairly thin coat of clear, just enough to seal it. Righto. I'll give that 20 minutes as I said. Wonder if I should go across there again. Ooh, that's still sticky. Mental note, you just painted it. Dickhead, don't touch it. Anyway, I'll give that a couple of minutes and I'll put him side on. We'll get that other side, then onto the gate, and we'll do something creative with these white lettering. Well, the lettering I want white at the back. So what can I give you from all this? Don't do this at home. Yes, do this at home. Have a go at it. It's wing it and see. It doesn't look right, but does it look right? I don't know. I like the bonnet. I really do. The one thing I will give you, get twice as much of the red / brown colour and not as much top coat. That was a litre. I've thinned it down and I've got about 750 mils left, so I've probably only used, I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 mil of thinned colour. Does that even make any sense? Just rambling now, aren't I? Too many words. Anyway, let's get some more clear on it. I'll give that another 10 minutes, put it side on, we'll clear coat this side. So I'll flip this around now and we'll do something with that lettering. I sort of want to make the lettering on the tailgate, the Ford lettering, stand out a little bit, maybe look like weathered white letters, but weathered. So I'll take some of my completely inadequate masking off and we'll get into that. I'm literally going to go like this. And then run the razor blade around the edge of the D. And just pull it out. Well, that's the theory. I'm just going to go nice and gentle in that, so that I don't gouge into the paint too hard, because I wouldn't want to ruin my amazing paint, not after all that hard work. Up, get in there, stay there, there. Oh, maybe I went a bit too gentle. I didn't quite get that. Didn't quite get that tape where it's overlapped. Anyway, I'm going to do that over all the letters, then put some tape down here and just dust some white on it. Like I said, I might even, how about I don't tell you and I just do it. Just shut up and just do it. Alright, so here's the plan. Number one, fix my masking. At least I'm consistent. I've masked like an absolute mong the whole episode. I've never once have I got it any good. So seriously, here's the plan. I've got some acrylic white and I'm going to dust it into the D. Now, that's probably not the way you'd do it if you had shiny paint, even though I'm just scratching through. That is terrible. Anyway, even though I'm just scratching through that paper masking tape, you're still going to leave a line, you're still going to leave a hairline cut in your expensive paint, so you're probably not going to do it that way. I don't care. I am going to fix that though. I can't look at that. That's terrible. You know it's bad when someone with incredibly low standards says, I can't deal with that, I have to fix that. That's saying something. But here's the, oh, that's so much better. Anyway, here's the grey area. I'm going to dust it on just wet enough that I can try and run a brush through it. That's way too big. Maybe it's not. Anyway, I'm going to try and run a brush through it, and if I leave some little brush lines through the white into the blue, that's kind of the effect I'm after. I want it to look like it was hand painted and has weathered. If it looks shit and doesn't work, I'm just going to dust it on, and then I'm going to sand the edges and round all the edges up. So, all right, I probably should have turned it away from the sun because it's going to dry really quick. I think I'm going to have to get a smaller brush. Looks terrible. Try again. Righto, round two. I'll thin that out a little bit more because that dried too quick. It's stuck. And I didn't really get my strokes that well. So let's have another go. No is the answer to that. That did worse than that one. But you're going to keep trying, aren't you, Mike? Righto, now I'm just going to leave that for a minute, add some more white, just get them just so they're covered, and then as I sand back, hopefully I'll get some of that. That one worked better. Never mind. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to just cover them and then just start sanding back through the edges and make it look thin and worn. Oh, I don't hate that. I've got to get ready with the brush. Yeah, you've got to be quick. Oh, now I got it. Now we got it. I'll give them one more coat and then unmask them, but hopefully that's probably the best one there. You can see the stroke marks. I'll put one more coat over it, cover them, and then as I come through just sanding it, you should have the brush lines, you know, living the lie that it was hand painted. Kind of was, just did it. Not really. I'll go around and scuff the edges, get rid of that overspray, and I don't hate it. just blurs the edge of that masking line, so it doesn't look new, it doesn't look fresh. Thins it out so you actually can't see how crap it was. Or in my head it does, whether or not when you look at it. So I don't think my brush really worked that well. You can see a couple little faint lines there, but really the sanding has almost negated it. A few there, that's kind of how I meant it to look there, but either way they still look weathered. So last thing, one coat extra of clear across the back of that, and I think we're done. So I'm fitting back up mirrors, indicators and all that sort of thing, and thought I'll just pull the bonnet down, and went, why won't it shut? Gets to there, won't shut. It's because it's hitting on the back of the plenum there. I'll show you why. And my real quick engine bay refresh didn't come up too bad. That's just black, satin black or semi-gloss black, and I went across there as well. But the reason the bonnet isn't shutting is look at the bend in that hinge. That should be straight. So because that's bent, it's shortened that, and so it's sitting the back of the bonnet right down, and that one's the same. So I might just give them a little bit of a push over, see if you can't get this to shut down. And I'm just going to caress them over ever so gently. I think I've done enough bending. I've now got the bonnet almost up to the same height, but the gap at the back you could almost put 2 fingers in, so I just want the bonnet just to slide back ever so slightly. That was just rust coming out everywhere, but whatever. So all that's doing is shifting the bonnet back in the hinge. So I should close the gap up a little. And it sounds dumb, you just said it was hitting on there, now you're trying to close the gap up. But I've brought the hinges, straightened them up, it's brought it so far forward. Alright, we'll see what that did. Well, it shuts. Oh, that's good enough for me. I think that's even better. Yep, good enough for me. I've only got a litre of this, and you need to thin it, and it's in a 1 litre. Shut up, dog. Seriously. The sun would still be out, but it's actually getting... No, not really. That's still shitty in there, isn't it? Yeah, that is just pus. Yes, is your answer. Yeah, it is, Mick. It's still shitty as hell. Where's that good bit of sandpaper gone? And here come the bagpipes. Does anyone else kind of wish they'd just bust out a long way to the top? Anyway, what did I say? How much to say? Look on the damn. Never did I ever think I would wash this car. Never thought I'd have a reason. But I actually really like it now, and it's probably given me a bit of a kick up the bum to get something done with inside it and some brakes. Brakes would be good. But that'll be next time you see the F100. We've got a couple of new cars coming up in the next 2 episodes. But this one will be back. And as far as the Patina goes, love it, hate it, believe it, don't believe it, it doesn't matter. The thing that matters to me, or the thing that excites me about this thing, is it's not in a back paddock rotting away where we found it. So what's the saying? It doesn't have to be pretty, it's just got to run. Well, I think this is kind of getting a bit pretty. Anyway, I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.